What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about what happened last night on the season premiere of SmackDown on the USA Network, which is pretty cool because usually when WWE talks about a season premiere, it don't really feel like a season premiere. You kind of question why, but this actually felt like a different show in a sense. But before we get into the show itself, I want to ask you guys to do me a favor. Go ahead and check out my guys Kicking It with Leo brand new podcast channel. It is called Bringing It to the Ring. Go over there, support him, hit the subscribe button. I am proud of him. He is out here doing his thing. Also, support my guys at the Flex Zone podcast, Roz, Byron, so many other people there that have always been supportive to me, always been some good guys. Go to the channel, watch their videos, hit the like button, subscribe, watch their lives and everything like that. Great guys over there. Now, let's talk about SmackDown last night. And I want to start off with one of the main things that I absolutely loved about the episode, and that was the brand new SmackDown logo. And guys, I was unaware of this. I haven't been on Twitter like that. I'm most likely, actually, I am going to delete that account, but I was surprised. When I saw the logo on the aprons, when I saw the S on the microphone, I was like, okay, this is pretty different. This is really different. But you know what? I really do love this new logo. I do. And for me, I used to do logo designs a lot. And one of the main things I loved about people's logo designs or doing logos is when people make a title for a brand or a company or whatever, and they design it in a way where it's very unique. You can tell what it is just by reading the name or just by looking at it. But also, if they're able to take a piece of it, like let's say a letter off of that logo, and make that unique as well. So even if you just see that one letter, you know where it comes from, like the S in Subway or the M in McDonald's. I felt like they accomplished that here with the S in SmackDown because it is an S and a D. So when I saw that logo on the microphones when people were cutting promos, I was like, you know what? That's really clean. That's really slick. They did a fantastic job with that. And speaking of graphics and things like that, as far as the animations and the match cards and the name card titles, if that's what you want to call it, where they showed the wrestlers' names last night, that all looked really, really clean. I thought it looked fantastic. The end credits at the end of the show, and even the camera. The camera looks like it's like, I don't know, like 40K. Like I didn't even know if my TV can handle it. Like when Roman Reigns came down to the ring, you can see every pore in his face. It just felt like everything felt very high quality. So WWE did a fantastic job with all of that. So let's talk about the first match that happened on the card, and it was a steel cage match between Solo Sikoa, who I call Blonde Mochi, and I call him Blonde Mochi because there's a character in Monster Rancher that reminds me of Solo's hair, and we call him Blonde Mochi because of that, versus Cody Rhodes, the Super Saiyan Pastor, for the Undisputed Championship. And I thought it was a really good match, a really, really good TV match, and I'm glad the people in Seattle had a fantastic time watching this. So many different spots that I thought were really cool. And, you know, when it comes to a steel cage match, and this match in particular, I was like, okay, this has to be a setup for Roman Reigns, or of course, obviously the Bloodline 2.0 involved, because you can't have this situation and not have any type of involvement, right? I didn't even think they were going to be able to finish the match, but they actually did, and Solo Sikoa ended up catching the pin. He ended up losing to Cody Rhodes, and at that point, I was like, you know what? We can't have no more Cody versus Solo matches. We don't need another battle of the blondes anymore, okay? Solo has lost already twice for that title, so let's just go ahead and move on from these two guys. And eventually what happened after Cody Rhodes won the match, we had the Bloodline 2.0 interfere. We saw Tama Tonga climbing up the ring, the steel cage with his brother, and I thought it was a missed opportunity to have Tama Tonga climb up and go, yeah, like do something crazy like that, because he really would have looked like something off of World War Z, or really like the guy from the Wild Thornberries. But anyway, they got into the ring, they attacked Cody Rhodes. Out comes Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns getting to the steel cage, which I thought was pretty cool because Roman Reigns closes the cage behind him. Like, bro, I'm not worried about getting out. I'm worried about keeping y'all in here. And then obviously he helps Cody Rhodes. And then one of the coolest things that happened towards the end of this match, or towards the end of this spot of the show, you had Solo Sikoa and you had Jacob Fatu outside of the ring, and Roman Reigns kind of looks at Jacob like, come on, bro, come on inside. And you see Jacob trying to walk up to Roman Reigns, and we saw one of the coolest shots of them staring at each other. The match that we're all wanting to see, the one that we want to see besides Solo versus Roman. I think for most of us, we don't care about that match, but we know for the story it has to happen. But Jacob versus Roman is going to be a banger. And that shot just gave us a preview of something we're going to see. And I'm like, bro, I cannot wait for this to happen. That match is going to be so good. But Solo, being the blonde hater that he is, pulls Jacob Fatu out of the ring because he's upset. And I think, although that's kind of irritating for the most part, it does play into the story. He did take that tag team championship from Jacob Fatu and give it over to Tangaloa, and now he's getting upset every time Jacob Fatu tries to approach a challenge, like what he did with Cody Rhodes. Said, Jacob, step up. Solo Sikoa didn't like that. Jacob Fatu steps up to Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa does not like that. So you can tell the jealousy in Solo Sikoa is starting to come out of his pores. He can't hate it, bro. He's just a straight hater, bro. I think at this point he's more of a hater than Jey Uso was when he was a part of the Bloodline. That's what it seems to be happening. But I think the story that's going to be told there is obviously with Solo taking the title off of Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga and Tangaloa losing those titles. Jacob's going to be like, yo, when I had the title, we were killing it. But when you gave it to them and you made a choice and I trusted your choice as my tribal chief, now we're going to lose those titles. And I think that's what's going to happen. And this story kind of played on to what happened at the end of the night, where Nick Aldis was told that Solo and Jacob offered him a offer that he couldn't refuse. And what it was a contract to have a tag team match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns seemed to be reluctant as far as signing that contract. Cody Rhodes even told Nick Aldis that, hey, I don't want to sign that paper. I'm not putting my ink on that paper. I'm not doing that. I don't want to. And then at the end of the night, we saw Roman Reigns say, I don't need Nick Aldis. I don't need Cody Rhodes. And I don't need this contract to fight these guys. And then we saw Cody come out, and then they get into the brawl with the Bloodline 2.0. And then for some reason, they didn't really explain it, Roman Reigns decides to sign the same contract he just said he didn't need, but whatever. And then Cody Rhodes comes out there and signs the same contract he refused to sign like 30 minutes ago, which I think they'll probably explain that next week. But in the time of it happening, it was just like, what happened? Like, what made them change their mind? Is that all it took? I mean, I felt like they could have taken this situation and played the storyline into next week and have them sign the contract next week, have something happen on SmackDown that time to influence them to sign the contract, as opposed to having it happen tonight, because it didn't really have to. I mean, Bad Blood is the beginning of next month. We still got a couple more weeks left unless they got more story to tell. But that's just my opinion on that part. But I did love the fact that that whole thing happened. And I think that was really the highlight of the show. The other highlight of the show was a match between Andrade Cien and Carmelo Hayes. Fantastic match. They had a scary, they did a scary spot off of the barricade. And I don't know, it felt like they didn't get enough height. I really thought that Carmelo Hayes actually hurt himself. I don't know if he sells real good, but the way he was holding his arm, it looked like he had pain shooting up and down his arm. But besides that, really good match. Fantastic match. Great ending, with Andrade doing his finisher off the top of the turnbuckle. And, obviously he's going to have his match against LA Knight, which I thought was great. And I feel like LA Knight is in a great position because it seems like everybody in that mid-card division are pretty much really good in the ring. So LA Knight is going to be really hard for him to have a really bad match. Not saying that LA Knight is a bad wrestler in itself, but it just feels like it's going to be really hard for him to have a bad match against anyone in that division. I think everyone in that division can really hold their own in the ring, which is great for him, which will make his title run look a lot better outside of, depending on his promo skills. The in-ring abilities, the stuff is going to really help out there. Now, the thing that I thought was kind of interesting is the situation between Michin and we saw Piper Niven. Now, I get there was time restraints and things like that, but for that match to happen that fast, and I'm a huge supporter of Michin. I love Michin. I've been a fan of her since she was Jade when she was in TNA. I don't understand why that match happened so fast, because for one, you would think, and this is not to make fun of like Piper Niven, because I love Piper Niven. I've watched her for a long time too. She's a fantastic wrestler. Watched her in the Indies. I felt like, given the size of Piper Niven, I feel like there would have been a better story that could have been told in the ring. And I felt like that match was basically a squash match, and it shouldn't have happened that way, like that quick. But I don't know. That's just my feeling about it. I feel like when the women's division, when it comes to SmackDown, they kind of slack in that area. When it comes to certain things, they kind of give them leftovers of a lot of stuff. And this is not more so like a political thing. It's just more so just what I see visually. Even when we're talking about the women's tag team matches or the tag team titles or whatever the case may be, it just doesn't feel like they really put enough into those things. And with Michin winning, that's a great victory for her. But I hope they get some type of rematch to get a longer match. Or if they're going to get a rematch, why not just wait till next week to have this type of match? but the idea of giving Michin, a spot to shine on our season premiere, I guess that's a great idea. But outside of that, for the match itself, I don't really think it benefited much. But hopefully, out of this, we get a storyline between Piper Niven and why am I forgetting her name? Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. I'm sorry, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Well, they kind of have this internal conflict where Chelsea Green could probably go over as a babyface, and then maybe WWE at that point in time, if they go that route, they can finally showcase her for how good she actually is in the ring, outside of just being this comedic jobber that they have her as. And it's funny, it's entertaining. I get it. She has me dying laughing on social media, but as far as her being a wrestler, she's a lot better than they're displaying her to be when she's on SmackDown on a weekly basis. Like outside of that, she is really good in the ring, and I hope they give her an opportunity to showcase that at some point in time. And I think her and Piper Niven can actually have a really, really good match. Believe it or not, Piper Niven is really good in the ring, and so is Chelsea Green. So I cannot wait for that match to happen, in my personal opinion. And moving on to the next segment that happened with the ladies. We had the whole thing with Nia Jax coming out and then Bayley coming out and trying to ask Nia about Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton comes out, and then Naomi comes out to get involved in this whole thing. And the thing is with Naomi at this point, I told you guys I'm a big fan of hers. I was happy when she went to TNA. I knew she was going to be successful over there. And I think she's doing a pretty good job now. I think her in-ring ability has gotten better. But the thing is, it felt like that she's a Mortal Kombat cameo character. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like she has nothing to do but to get involved into stuff that has nothing to do with her. She's like, hey, you need an extra character? Let's bring in Naomi. Okay, well, when this feud is over, go over there and glow a little bit. We'll call you back when somebody has a feud that has nothing to do with you, and we need another person to get involved. And I feel like that's exactly what they do with her. Now that they have this tag team match that they set up with her and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and the stipulation is kind of very convoluted on what they agreed on this, and it's if any one of the women out of Naomi or Bayley gets pinned, they have to leave SmackDown, which means they have to go to Raw, right? Or if they have to go to Raw. If either one of the women pins Tiffany Stratton or Nia Jax, then that woman gets a match at Bad Blood for that championship against Nia Jax. Well, they kind of put themselves in the corner, which my guy Byron on the Flex Zone podcast really pointed out. It's like, we know we're going to get a match at Bad Blood. So we know that Bayley and Naomi, their team is not going to lose that match. But what I think is going to happen there is Bayley's actually going to win that match, and Naomi's going to turn heel, because we got to remember when Bayley was champion and Naomi gave her title that weird look, like, kind of like Randy was looking at Cody Rhodes' title. She kind of gave her that look. So I'm thinking this is a moment where Naomi is definitely going to have to turn heel or cause Bayley the match at Bad Blood. But either way, it's an interesting thing to do. It's something different, kind of convoluted, but, I want to give credit to WWE for trying to do something a little bit different, at least with the women's division. The only thing I don't like is I feel like that ever since WrestleMania, they've been going kind of crazy with these tag team matches involving the world champions and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird because it's like the people in the actual tag team divisions are not really getting tag team matches on these PLEs. Why isn't that happening? These titles are not really getting defended. We're not really getting tag team matches out of them in these PLEs. So why are they giving it to these main champions, right? I feel like ever since WrestleMania XL, they kind of been a little too hyper. Let's put champions on the team, in a tag team, and have it defended, as opposed to having that champion defend the title on the PLE. And don't get me wrong, Cody Rhodes has been defending that title on PLEs, but I'm just saying they get a little too crazy with these tag team matches. They're very entertaining, but I feel like they shouldn't take up the slot of an actual tag team match between tag teams on the PLEs. But that's just my personal opinion. I know it's made to serve a greater purpose and to play more into a story. I'm not saying that. I understand the mechanics of it all and the reason why it's happening. You can explain to me why it makes sense for pineapples to be on pizza from the scientific standpoint or from taste buds, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be okay with it, right? I'm not a pineapples on pizza type of person, but I think that it's interesting, but I feel like they could do a little bit more out of that. But at the end of the day, overall, I'm sorry, guys. My seasonal allergies is kicking my butt right now. So if I sound off or I'm rambling, trying to get through this. I think overall, as a show, it was a pretty good show. I liked it. It was a great season premiere. Everything felt brand new from the standpoint of production, from animation to the logo, to starting off with a steel cage match. It did what it was supposed to do, pushing forward a story. And at least it's something different than just seeing the Bloodline 2.0 powerbomb to somebody through a table. And I like the fact that Roman Reigns actually finally got to talk. So, we got something out of that as well. And, we'll see what's going to happen. I mean, the whole thing with the Cody and Bloodline situation, I kind of wanted to fade out a little bit more and just let the Bloodline have their own situation, because I think with Cody and the Bloodline, I feel like that has become the story of his title reign. Although every person that he's had a match with wasn't a Bloodline member, but it just seems like that he's always in that circle. And I kind of want to see him break off, at least for a little bit. I know he had AJ Styles match. I know he had matches and feuds outside of the Bloodline, but I want to see him kind of curate his own situation, even while the Bloodline is existing and while Roman Reigns is back. Unless WWE is afraid that Cody Rhodes might get overshadowed by what's happening at the Bloodline, and with Cody Rhodes being overshadowed, the title will in turn be overshadowed as well. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think about last night's show in the comment section. How do you guys feel about the logo? How do you feel about the animations? How do you feel about the camera work? How do you feel about the tag team matches that are being booked for Bad Blood? Let me know in the comment section. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I'm going to go drink some emergency and get some stuff for some allergies. But I thank you guys so much for supporting me. I appreciate it. Salute, peace. Have a good day.